when I make beats, if I can't imagine someone like in an Escalade, like if I can't picture someone in an SUV doing this with hands on the steering wheel, then it might not be that hard. If Spice Adams isn't gonna like play it and like make faces in the car, you know what I'm saying? Like it might not be that good. And I feel like part of that is the head nod for real.
Microphone check, 1 2. What is this? It's the 5'7" assassin in the podcast business. I am your host, Rohan Patra, the rap music plug at your service. Here we are again at the end of a rainbow. Today's guest, Theravada, has experienced a huge 2025 so far, releasing his latest solo album, The Years We Have, producing half of Earl Sweatshirt's fantastic Live, Laugh, Love, contributing a guest verse to Evidence's Unlearning Volume 2, producing a bonus track off Billy Woods' new album. There's been a lot, and you'd think, given the buildup of features and production credits that were released before his new album, that Theravada meticulously calculated this expertly crafted rollout. But on the contrary, it was really a serendipitous coincidence that was made possible by years and years of dedication to his craft, a true love for the art, and a genuine desire to build authentic connections with those in the community. In this episode, we discuss the importance of hip hop and New York on his upbringing, working with Earl on Live, Laugh, Love, the signature sound of Theravada, and the creative process behind his deeply personal new album, The Years We Have. So listen on to learn about one of the best dual threat rappers and producers in the game today. And finally, for folks in Toronto, I have a special treat for you. On October 16th at Basement 254, I will be hosting an evening of amazing hip hop and experimental music featuring cross-country acts that some may know who listen to this show in Wave Generators, Jesse the Tree, Nah Really, as well as some talented local acts in Ghost Boy RJ and Bridge of Sand. Tickets are on sale. You can find that in the description of wherever you're listening to this. Don't miss it. The Rap Music Plug podcast presented by QLC TV is the remedy to the I don't have anything good to listen to problem. Through in-depth artist interviews, album reviews, and general rap commentary on the best that the underground rap scene has to offer, this is your one-stop shop to knowing what to add to your queue, play next, or pop into your record player. Welcome to the show. Theravada, how you doing today?
Yes, sir. Wonderful, man. How you doing?
I'm great. I'm great. I'm bearing through the cat sitting troubles as we talked about, but otherwise I'm good. This is boosting my spirits for sure. Happy to have you on because like I feel like every single thing I hear from you that's new, I'm just getting like increasingly more impressed with, your skill, the passion that comes across, the authenticity. And it's a trend that surely has continued with the release of your new album, The Years We Have, along with your production credits on Live Laugh Love with Earl and your contributions to that Evidence album, which I just think like more people need to listen to that fucking album. It's so incredible, and I love seeing you on that. And yeah, it's just been really awesome to see, like, with the spotlight on you in the way it has been as of late. Like, how has the response felt like to you to all this kind of recent work?
It's felt overwhelming to say the least, but there's still that aspect of preparedness that I knew I would have for this moment, and I knew I wasn't ever prepared for it. And I actually had the thought today of when I used to release music, the reflexive response, like even after some of my first projects would be, so what's next? And that would frustrate me because I'd be like, what do you mean what's next? I just dropped 35 minutes of music and you played it through once and you're like, wow, that's dope. What's next? And I'm like, well, I'm not about to like do a press run or jump on the radio or anything. This is my first project. I'm gonna just kind of relish in it and keep doing what I'm doing and try to get some music videos done and keep making music. I don't know. Now it's like when people ask me that question, I have so much to say about what's next. So it's interesting that it would frustrate me. People would say that, but I think they were already holding me at a standard where they were expecting more. And now, 8 years later, no, 7, 8, yeah, 8 years later after my first release, I can proudly say that now I'm able to answer that same question. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and you're like definitely been very prolific, both in like the amount of releases, but like some of these records, like obviously you got that 91 track behemoth that I've been like recently really getting my teeth into as of late. It's so sick. But yeah, I mean, like I don't know, I've heard, in my kind of conversations with, other hip hop fans, ever since that Earl record and then this record, your newest solo, like I feel like your name's ringing different, and it's really sick to see. Really sick
Word,
to
man.
see.
Thank you, man. Thank you. I appreciate that for real. Like it's been nothing short of flattering. You know what I mean? All the things I've been hearing in real time. My music has been a slow burn. I've had a lot of immediate response to a good amount of my music, and I think that's what's ultimately motivated me to keep going.
Hmm.
But now, this might have been my seventh or eighth interview I've done in the past month, and that
Yeah,
might be more interviews than I've done in my whole career at this point.
I was gonna say you don't do a ton of them.
I don't really get asked to do a ton, but I may have turned some down. I would get a lot of more random people that kind of just found me, people that kind of just started their blog, and I'd be like, yeah, that's dope, but I'm almost like I don't know if either of us are equipped to speak to one another
Mm,
adequately. I don't know who this may help or hurt. Like, yeah, it's going to be a look for you because I'm somebody to you or whatever, but I kind of need and would hope for my conversations and my interviews to be more sophisticated, not just talk about what's it like making beats and like, oh, you like basketball. I didn't realize you like basketball, and like that should already have been something you knew 7 years ago.
yeah,
Not that you had to know about me 7 years ago, but at this point, if you are speaking to me, you have more context that when you do speak to me, you know what I'm saying? There's
yeah,
just there's more going on, and you don't want to be all pretentious, like, yeah, I only want to talk to like the major publications or whatever, because I'm not really on that. I said yes to everything because I was just down, and a lot of people I was able to speak to in person, which I ultimately prefer. We had attempted to do that, which I also appreciate.
mm,
But here we are, and that's sick. You got the damn album behind you. That shit is fire.
yeah. Like it's
But yeah, man.
I mean, I definitely feel you because I take that similar calculus where there's some artists that either I'm kind of only recently tapping in, or they just have a certain kind of catalog where I'm like, okay, I think I need more time to just digest this. Cause right now I feel like if I talk to them, I'd love to, but I
Yeah,
don't know what I'd be adding that they probably haven't talked about a bunch of times. And or just like I like to understand the artist and like to a certain degree and then kind of have that be complimented and added upon when I speak. But it can't be like, yeah, wait, you like basketball? Oh, that's crazy.
yeah.
Like,
Then, oh
like,
wow, really? You used to play basketball too? Oh, I didn't
how does
know.
that inspire some of your
How does that
music? Like,
inspire? Oh, so that's why. Oh, so that's a basketball player that you reference on that song. Okay, now it's almost like I'm just like riffing with what might as well just be a random kid in the studio
hmm
who's just interested in my music, And I try to build with whoever wants to interview with me a little bit before we ever interview, because that can't just be our first conversation. And I even try to tell people like, what have you been listening to of mine? And they'd be like, oh, this one song. And I'm like, have you heard this album or this album? My more recent one, my more popular one. And they're like, nah. And it's like, okay, so do me the favor like I would do you the favor and at least maybe listen to my music before you interview me just because you like the clips you saw on Instagram or whatever.
yeah,
But
yeah,
man,
and
that when it's all said and done, man, it's all in stride of the fact that what I'm doing is interesting to people. So that's why I don't take that lightly. I try to honor it, and I try to not, spread myself thin, but communicate with as many people as I can when it comes to these things.
absolutely. And like speaking of when we met in New York this past summer at that Ka Legacy event. Just such a special time. I was so glad I could go to that. And we were talking a lot about actually like living in New York, comparing and contrasting that to your times on the West Coast too, and specifically about like the hip hop scenes. and just how genuine the community is and how thriving it is right now. And I'm so like, how essential is the city of New York not only to just kind of inspiring your content from like what you talk about, but like being around so many creative people so consistently, like how does that inspire you to like keep pushing and keep creating music even when maybe you feel like, especially earlier on in your career, obviously, that you felt like, oh man, why aren't more people listening to this?
Being a fan is what kept it exciting. Like I'm genuinely a fan of the people that I get to share spaces with. I'm genuinely a fan of the people I get to see record, whether or not we're working on something together. I'm around. You see different processes, you see different styles. You're at different shows, you learn what people like, and your palette is constantly adjusting. And it's also further informing your own potential because you could be inspired and be like, I want to make music just like that. Or you could be inspired to be like, wow, that's so whatever that is. It's so distinct. It's so ill. I love that so much, but I want to make sure what I'm doing doesn't seem like it's too similar to that. So now I'm aware of like 8, 9, 10, 11 micro trends within a subgenre of, you know what I'm saying? Whatever. The rabbit holes go deep, the ice, the glacier. You know what I'm saying? Like I've considered myself at the very, 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 very bottom of that with all my peers at one point. But that, that makes you like, that just makes you better. And if that you can actualize your own potential because you're exposed to enough things and you see how much freedom people have when they create. And that at least tells me in my own personal context, oh, I was putting a lot of walls up on my own potential and I was giving myself too many rules or whatever.
Yeah, like you mentioned earlier about you prefer to meet people in person. Like obviously there's beauty in the technology age, like we're doing this virtually right now. That's dope, but I've been to New York twice since I've started the podcast, once a couple years ago and then once this summer. And I left the trip, I think I was there like 5 nights with so many ideas, so many like plans that or at least a few plans that I think I'm going to follow through on that I never would have even considered. And it's just
Right.
because I kind of bumped in to someone was like, "Oh, I could help with photography for this event," or encouraging me to do something, uh meeting obviously meeting artists and making connections just like we did. It's it just helps you feel like, especially because we're in a particular niche of hip hop that, you know, doesn't compare in terms of numbers with some of like the artists that a lot of like normie people know, right? But it reminds you that there's so many people that care and it just keeps you going. And it's like, especially when you're in person, it just feels like, oh, you're not just like an avatar on Twitter. Like you have real
Yeah,
life.
exactly. And even when we were first getting started doing a lot of, whatever you want to call it, local shows or just smaller venue, dive bar shows, whatever, the people who would consistently show up that might not even make music of their own, and even if they do, they're super like low about it, and they just love pulling up. Like you can call them a fan, but a lot of them are like friends I made over the years or whatever. But that was the first form of a fan, is like the dude that's just like, I just love beats. I just love coming through and hanging out. And then you find out after like the eighth, ninth time he comes to the show that only 7 people were at, you're talking to this dude more and you're finding out he makes fire on the low. And then that, exponentially grows the more people that learn about what we had going on, like 2015, 2016, the different types of shows we'd be doing more shows more frequently. I don't know if I'm not tapped in, but I feel like less shows happen now in New York. And I know that was a lot of our discussion was me saying how it felt like there were just more offshoot, small venue beat shows to be playing in LA, whereas in New York it seems more seasonal and
Mm.
less frequent.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I have to imagine it has something to do with like economic conditions. A lot of like smaller venues, I think, it's harder than ever. Obviously, COVID, like goes without saying, was like very difficult for a lot of those spots.
Yeah, for
So
sure,
that
for
could
sure.
play
That
out.
was a huge transition in a lot of ways.
Yeah. Something that I find interesting is that you're a child of immigrants from Greece. I think you before coming to Queens, you were in Philly for a bit. Is that correct?
I myself wasn't. My father had
Your
lived
father was okay.
right outside of Philly for all but 2 months.
Okay, okay.
Yeah,
And I bring this up because you have a really interesting line off of the new album and the specific track "Learning Curve," where you rap about how like xenophobes made you feel self-conscious and you felt alienated because your dad was like, spoke differently.
right.
And it makes me think about like especially being in a place with such a rich hip hop history like New York. How did it, if at all, like hip hop play a role in just making you feel more confident in yourself and like foster a community and connection with others? Like how critical is that?
Very critical because that's how I was identifying with the fact that my whole family was from Queens, or at least lived in Queens. My mother's from Queens originally. My father had come from Greece, Philly for however quick second, and then went to New York. But all my cousins and all my relatives are were born in Queens, if not from directly from Greece. Because that's where I had a sense of community and where I made friends and I learned about music and clothes and the things that come with being a New Yorker because you're in Jamaica, Queens naturally. But then living in Long Island, growing up in Long Island, not a very diverse neighborhood where I was at, you're seeing the very inverse of that. But you're learning it on a level of like, you know, it's not some like, I'm white, these people are black, these people are Arab, what have you. No, it's like I'm also white, but I'm feeling this like I still don't belong type thing. Like I'm realizing the complications of that and how deep it goes. And you have people that will say shit like, "Oh, they empathize," and the people that'll be like, "How am I racist? I have a black friend or whatever." And then the vein of that where it goes into like, "Oh, Italians went through the same shit. Jewish people went through the same shit," and it's like I've heard all these things growing up, like all these things that maybe a lot of people didn't hear until they started seeing a lot of nonsense on Twitter, and I'm like, damn, these are conversations I heard from like people's parents when I was 11 years old, 10 years old, them
Yeah.
telling us shit like that too. So that, you know, me feeling discouraged from even caring about playing on my high school basketball team because of the shit that my coaches used to say, because of the shit I used to hear in the schools. I was like, I'd rather go play for my church team in Queens with all my Greek friends and my cousin Rob Chambers and I played for the same church growing up.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? So that alone, it was like, man, it was deeper than just like, oh, Long Island is this and Queens is that. And I learned about what type of jeans you should wear and what type of sneakers are cool. Like, yeah, that's one thing, but also the sense of community and a sense of like, actual multiculturalism and what that's like when the spaces are shared.
Even as someone who was a big fan of hip hop even when I was in like grade 5, grade 3 in Ottawa, cuz I live in Toronto now, but I lived in the capital of Canada for most of my life until like 3 years ago. And like my school was very white, didn't have real tangible exposure to hip hop other than just listening to music on my iPod. And in hindsight, I have to imagine that played, just like consuming the music and hearing the stories had to have had such a significant like impact in terms of how I viewed the world, because I didn't have to I would be one of those people who didn't have to actually encounter a lot of this nonsense in person, or like hear about these impacts of a lot of this racism stuff, because I felt it myself in different ways. I definitely had some friends that would experience things like that, but it just wasn't a big conversation. But hearing all the music that you hear, all these stories, like hip hop is so damn informative and educational, even when it's not trying to be like quote unquote conscious. Like, I hate that word, but like even when it's not trying to tell you anything or tell you to believe anything, just the stories that they're telling about. If you really sit back and think about it, when I'm like a child or something, I'm like, holy shit, that's their life. Like, that's what they have to deal with. They're like actually trying to put food on their plate, like literally. It
Yeah, like
just,
this isn't just poetic.
yeah.
This isn't just imagine this. Imagine what that would be like. It's quite literally Like I had sent a friend uh a Billy Woods interview, and his first reaction was, "Holy shit, that just made the whole album of Aethiops that much crazier." And it's not that he doubted the reality of any of it, but seeing like, oh shit, and like all the bars that you already had in your head, it's like, whoa, there's that much more magnitude to
Mm-hmm.
it when you know that these things are real. And you know, some of it too is when you hear rap at a young age and you get older, you're understanding more about life and the surroundings that these people grew up in that you maybe couldn't relate to at first because you're just hearing it in a musical form and you're enjoying the music. And then something clicks when you reach a certain age. You're like, whoa, wait a second. This has been commodified by way of someone's honest story, and now you have you know, imitators and wannabes and posers and the words we don't really use anymore, but that's still something that surrounds us one
Yeah.
way or another.
So even before releasing this latest album, like this year has been full of big moments. One being this basically producing half of the new Earl Sweatshirt album, Live, Laugh, Love. Talk to me about how that relationship with Earl first established, and specifically how that led to you producing such a significant portion of the record.
He had heard Zennis Rodman. I don't know if he heard anything before that, but I know that he had heard Zennis Rodman, and Sage Navy Blue had seen me out, and he was like, "Yo, we were listening to your album. Stop playing. Pull up. Let's go." And then within a month of that, my plans had already brought me to LA, and then we wound up meeting, and then we linked up maybe a week after we had first met. I wound up at his crib, and that was how Tabula Rasa happened. So it's been like I wouldn't see him for maybe like 6 to 8 months at a time, but I started frequenting LA more, which eventually turned into me staying in LA for about a year, and that was how Live Laugh Love came about. Was during the stay in LA, playing lots of basketball, drinking lots of smoothies, smoking Kush.
That's fire.
Yeah.
And so like did you how would you characterize like your relationship with Earl? Was it mostly just about, like, oh, okay, we see eye to eye musically, we can collaborate and create some great shit, or do you feel like it was more so like a friendship that you just so happened to also make music?
You could say both. I think initially there was clearly it was contingent to the fact that the style of music I was making was resonating with him. And I was curious too at first because I'm like, you heard Zennis Rodman. How many tracks did you hear? Because you don't really hear any of my beats till like track 21, maybe? Because they're all like, yeah, yeah, beats, beats. And I'm like, are you sure you want my beats? Are you sure you don't want DMH beats? Because I know you heard the DMH beats. Okay, I got you. Let's go. But I was still kind of like, am I ready right now? Am I prepared for this? But then when I first played him beats, he was picking beats from like 2013, 2014. Some of my first SP303 beats,
Wow.
some beats from like 2016 that are long gone, you know. So that was gratifying in and of itself, knowing someone of his level was interested in what were quite literally within the first 20 beats I was making on the hardware I purchased when I was first starting.
Why do you feel like stylistically you two kind of, complemented each other? Why do you think there's a fit?
There's a good balance of organic and futuristic elements, I think, in our beat selections and rap style.
Yeah, there's especially on like the new record, like uh you hear it really on your solo and on Live Laugh Love. Like I love the mix of grit, but also ton of groove, ton of brightness. And that's actually a type of sound that Earl sounds great over, but he doesn't always select that, like,
Mhm.
especially going to like some of the earlier work, Doris and I Don't Like Shit. Like he's kind of been very prolific as in terms of diversity, a lot of different sounds. But I think given the subject matter too of what he was talking about, this felt like something that was just a match made in heaven, honestly.
Word, word. Thank you, man. I'm glad it seems that way. It's exciting on any level because I'm a huge fan of his rapping. when I first heard some rap songs, I was like, yeah, come to this side, let's go, rapping on samples and shit, fire, muddy lo-fi beats, weird stage mic mix. I was like, let's fucking go. Because that was also like, I looked at that as like, wow, this is so cool. In the same way that when Griselda got signed to Shady is cool, because everyone that's kind of already on a similar style, it kind of opens up the palette for more listeners now across the board. Now there's relativity. Now when I'm in the studio in Long Island with just like random people, no one's like, "Oh, you making them old school beats." Now it's
Old school
like,
beats.
"Oh, you got them Griselda type beats. You got them lo-fi type beats." I get it. Instead of me trying to explain to people why I don't make trap beats, even though that could make me more money or whatever, but like being in the studio and people can't wrap their head around making music that isn't going to make me a millionaire as soon as possible. Like I was just like, nah, I just like doing this, man. And they're like, nah, you're bugging. You got it. This is fire. I actually like this, but you don't want to try to get on the radio. I had a friend, that's my big homie, and he meant no ill will by it. I was playing him some shit I produced for one of my friends, mutual friend of ours, and he was like, yo, I'm glad he's still rapping, bro. Like this is fire. We all in the car nodding our head and shit. But that drill shit is what's like taking it there, bro. And I had the moment where I could look at him and be like, Rosenberg is playing my music, son.
Yeah.
Hot 97. I am on the radio now,
Yeah.
actually. And then he was like, wait, what? When was that? Like, bro just didn't see it on Instagram or whatever because he's a father and like runs a fucking company or whatever. And I'm showing him my phone and he's like, oh shit. And that kind of like, he got quiet, but not in like a, yeah, I showed you, but in a like, a, oh shit. He's like processing, like, oh shit. Griselda has been out for like 5 years, 4 years at this point. Like,
Yeah.
people's ears are going past what they heard in 2017 and they are making it to where we're at with things and my peers and whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's really cool to see the progression, and I have to imagine that kind of moment with Live Laugh Love is just kind of further accentuating that. Um did you guys produce like create the records in person? Like was this, or did you
I
kind of
wasn't
like
with
meet
him
with
when
him
he
in person
recorded
then
them.
he wrote to it after?
He he wrote to some of them like we were in each other's company, but the songs got done on his own. I didn't see him record anything.
Oh, okay,
But
word.
I played all the beats for him. Like I wasn't really sending beats. I send a beat here or there because it's just like one of those things. Excuse me. I might have just heard something he was working on recently, and then I might have something that's like adjacent or whatever. I'm hearing whenever I hear one of my friends on a beat because I've been saying how I don't really send beats out for real because I don't. But when I hear a friend of mine who I really be with, I might send a one, couple two here or there, just to like even just like say what up. Like it's not
Mm.
even like yo use this, yo what's up. It's more like what up. I made this, but like what's good, whatever. Carry on, But this was all played him all the beats in person. He picked everything in person. He picked a lot of beats. He picked a lot of beats.
Yeah, and like what would you say makes him special as an artist now that you've had this like firsthand experience, not just kind of like observing as a fan prior?
He operates in like different dimensions at the same time, regardless of what you might be taking in at surface level, And I would hope to think people think the same about me, where it's like, oh, you see this, there's actually way more to it. Like, yeah, you fuck with it, right? You look at it, you like it, you hear it, you like it. But then when you actually read into it and investigate what's going on, but also some of it might just be naturally the story. And then there's other aspects that are calculated and developed with the album concept and whatever else follows with that.
I definitely hear that, and I do hear that in your music too. Like, obviously, you and Earl create. You guys have that same kind of aspect, and I know Woods is a big fan of you. You guys have collaborated, and that's something I would say about his music too. Like,
That's such a crazy sentence to hear. Yeah, Woods is a big fan of you. He
I
would
mean, he
even laugh
is.
at me reacting. He would like make fun of me for like probably like reacting at that and be like, "Yeah, man, of course I'm a fan of yours, man. What the fuck?"
Yeah, like
He
there's
actually
a.
got mad at me. He got fake mad at me when we did the show in DC. I'm saying fake mad. He wasn't mad. He just had like a visible like aggy face. Like what? Someone was like, "What's your favorite song on Live Laugh Love?" And I was like, "Hmm, heavy metal." And he was like, "You like heavy metal more than Forge? You don't think like what? Like you're he's been bugging about Forge for like 3 years. You know what I'm saying? But it was just funny because he's kind of like, dude, give yourself more credit. You know that's your favorite song. Stop playing. And I'm like, nah, man, I love that joint. Heavy metal's my shit. And he was like, he was like, man, Child Actor got better beats than that, you know. And I'm like, but I still love that song. Man. Like everyone's just like at the merch table, like, yeah, I'm gonna get this. Okay,
Yeah,
see,
yeah, I'll do medium.
I love that dude, man. What a genius. What a sick genius.
Absolutely. Yeah, like that's it's what I called it like slipperiness where it's like, yeah, but it's exactly as you put it. Like there's some surface level narrative, surface level references, but then there's something other at play at the exact same time. And writing in parallel, I just find it so crazy. Like I don't know how
Yeah.
you guys do that. Like it's yeah, my brain's too mathematical like that sometimes where I'm like A equals B, or I don't know, 1 + 1 = 2. I don't get it, but I love it. I can appreciate it.
We both have the same affinity for certain types of rapping that even though we didn't grow up around each other and I think I'm maybe 3 years older than him, when we talked about music and like us growing up and shit, it felt like we got into similar shit at similar times of our lives. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, we were both 13 listening to MOP, but like when I was 13, he was younger and
Hmm.
but it was like the same kind of things reached us at the same points of our lives. I don't know.
That's
I
really
think
cool.
that also is that's a big thing that I think we might not take as seriously when it comes to certain things. It's one thing for people to be like, "Oh, damn, you make music and you don't really do your research or you don't really listen to the old school shit." But like, yeah, if people don't like that stuff. It's like it is what it is. But to still not know that, like, oh, that bar I said in that song is actually me quoting Jay-Z from his second album. But that's cool. You thought I wrote that naturally, but I was just citing it because it references something else I was saying, which ties into that and this and that. And you like the song regardless. But now I'm telling you that, and you're kind of like, oh shit, cool. Whoa, I got your lyrics wrong. I didn't realize that was a Jay-Z quote. I didn't realize MF Doom said that on the Victor Vaughn second album because I'd never heard the second Victor Vaughn album or whatever. You know, and certain fans and even certain people that it's really less about fans, it's more about collaborators. I feel like it's probably good to know if someone used that sample you're about to flip. Not that there's a problem with you flipping the sample, but it's still good to know overall. Your listening as a creator should have at least at some point been so diligent where it's not labor to do that research or to connect the dots on it. And that's my own personal hip hop purist opinion when it comes to things. But I think the hip hop gods and the OGs and whoever would probably agree with that sentiment. I would hope I still in my mind as a rapper, I'm still like, I'm so young. I just turned 34. I think I should be able to confidently speak on these things one way or another. But overall, it's a combination of like the accessibility being both a beautiful thing and a dangerous thing with everything, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, I always do find it interesting because it's actually pretty common. I in some artists where I talk to them and they're like, yeah, I'm just really focused on creating my own thing. I haven't really had a chance to kind of stay very tapped in. And then I see there's been some validity slash. It's not really about a validity at all. That's not the point. It's more just like I see the value in that in the sense of like you're gonna maybe come to a creative conclusion that's just so not influenced by other things, which could be cool. But then on the flip side, as you said, there's a lot to gain by being tapped in and understanding the
Right,
lineage
because
of shit.
that great idea you have could be that much more great. You have the capacity to have a great idea, but how much better would your ideas be if you were also an observer and a fan and a diligent researcher? So then that way the things that you land on as your own ideas are that much more maybe inspired and influenced by all the things you naturally consume and observe, but now you know exactly why it's yours. You know why it's different. There's no film director that's not inspired by another film director. There's no rapper that's not inspired by another rapper. There's no producer. No one was just, oh, I just like started looping samples. I've never heard of any producer ever. Like that doesn't really happen as much as people want to claim that because I know they want to be so special and they want to have their own cult fan base. And what even gave you the idea to try to make a cult fan base? And you know what I'm saying? You didn't just fall out of a coconut tree or whatever she said.
Yeah, shout out, shout
What's
out
the
to her.
thing she actually said though, which kind of makes sense?
Yeah.
I feel like I was about to say that. So that's why I had to I had to catch myself before I literally phrased it in the identical way, like I was quoting some fire.
Yeah. Oh, shout out to her.
You need a
Uh,
soundbite of a Kamala laugh.
yeah. She's like, oh my god. Yeah, I don't even want to get into that.
Yeah, don't. I'm
Th-
sorry. Anyway,
yeah, no, all good. So like throughout your catalog, something I find is such a defining trait, particularly in your production, but this does technically, and I do feel, get accentuated by your voice too, but more focusing on the production for a second. I find the way you layer samples, insert grooves, like on that intro to the Live Laugh Love. I just fucking love that song so much. Texture is such a critical piece of your work. And so, across your work, whether working on beats for yourself or producing for others, like I feel personally like there's some kind of like signature sound that you've come kind of created. Like, are there any particular textures or sonic details that you feel is consciously or unconsciously weaved into your production that gives it like the Theravada feel?
I don't think it's as conscious as it might just be incidental, because whatever I'm subconsciously seeking while making a beat and knowing, okay, this is done, becomes tied together. But I don't think you could necessarily calculate it. But it's interesting too, because that seems to be the word everyone's saying a lot about that
Texture?
album is texture. Yeah. And hate to break it to everyone, but none of those beats were made on an SP or on hardware for that matter. Sorry to, you know, ruin the lore or whatever, but point being, I think there's, at the very least, there's just a feeling rather than a conscious thing about like the texture. And that may ebb into other aspects of the sound or whatever. Maybe when I first started, it was more conscious. Like I wanted to have things that sounded strange and spacey, but still give it a rugged feeling with like an ill head nod. I'm sure there's aspects of that that go into it now, but even when you use those words, and this is why music journalism becomes strange at times, especially for hip hop, because the literal words that we use to describe how beats sound can still mean so many things. Dope can mean so many things. Hard can mean so many things. What I find hard is like the most bass heavy DJ Premier beat ever, and I might be playing like a guitar loop, and people are like, "This is hard, no drums," and it's like I don't. It's good music journalism needs to be like great music journalism because of that, and I don't have the words to even explain it myself because I just kind of be vibing for real.
Yeah.
I really be in the studio with my friends, talking to my friends, and they're talking to me while I'm making beat. They're like, "Am I distracting you?" I'm like, "No, whatever." Like, not to downplay the effort, but I kind of just like, if it's not natural and fun and kind of casual, there's times when you gotta lock in for sure. But I think the most of the diligent aspect is that I try to do it casually because within the casual effort comes, oh shit, wait a second, and then now I can lock in for 45 minutes to an hour and really make something special within that swath of casual things I was making while chilling with my boys in the studio or whatever.
Yeah, I feel like the casualness also brings the authenticity because, like, it kind of just like the dynamic is similar to like a lot of spiritual teachings about like, if you're like consciously trying to do something and make something happen and you're focusing on it like that, it can sometimes dilute it. Like the overload of thought, the overthinking can kind of dilute it. Whereas if you're just kind of
Yeah,
letting it come to you, you're just kind of in the feel. I think that's how you end up with a catalog like yourself where like I'm thinking of like the Young Morpheus album that you produced. Like that's one of my favorite things you've done musically, and it again has those same exact characteristics where like the colorful samples, the grooves, it's just and the head nod. Yeah, that's the thing also. Like uh I think a lot of people who make some of the music that's in like kind of the more rugged lo-fi territory, like man, the head nod isn't always there as much as you'd like. I find like I feel like people have underestimated that because I know a lot of drumless or like drum less drum forward music has become more trendy, which is great. I love that shit too. But I find the way even when you don't have these crazy giant drums, like the head nod's still there. Like the head nod
Right,
doesn't need to be off of like those bass heavy DJ Premier type shits, which are those go obviously. But
right. When I make beats, if there's anything I might be conscious of, and it's more when I'm actually speaking to someone in my company and not just thinking it necessarily, but if the shit bangs and you're not in your head, I'm like, yeah, if I can't imagine someone like in an Escalade, like with the big steering wheel and like they're hanging out, if I can't picture someone in an SUV doing this with hands on the steering wheel, then it might not be that hard. It might not be that good. If I'm imagining myself in my Civic enjoying it, then I'm like, well, okay, it sounds good. But if I can't imagine the truck and if maybe myself or someone else enjoying it in said truck, maybe like you if Spice Adams isn't gonna like play it and like make faces in the car, you know what I'm saying? Like it might not be that good. And I feel like part of that is the head nod for real.
that is the Escalade test. That's
And
actually, I
that's
mean, that's great.
all those days of SP404 beat shows and me making beats for years on just the SP. The common thing was always the swing and placement of drums. That was the discipline at first. Whether or not you had the coolest, deepest sample, it was really just a matter of like more constructed beat making. And I think now it kind of weighs more on your sample choices or whatever. But I try to at least display both so that it doesn't seem like my production doesn't just overtly rely on a sample choice. It ultimately does at the end of the day for a lot of us, but there needs to be character in the approach. And hopefully you're that ill where like, oh, I'm the first one to this sample. Look at that. Oh, y'all would have never thought to do that. But to know it's still that person, whether or not you have context, like there's gotta be some type of love and ability to embed some type of character into it when you're, you know, for all music, And we talk about hip hop exclusively. Granted, we're in hip hop, but all music is still borrowing from other music and is still imitating. And what do they say? All pop music, they use the same three or four
Yeah.
chord structures or whatever. So like we drive ourselves crazy being as pretentious as we are.
Pardon the interruption, but if you're watching this on YouTube, please hit the subscribe, like the video, and hit the bell as well. And if you're checking this out on podcast platforms, please follow the show, leave a rating, leave a review if possible. This will help the algorithm do its thing and get more people tapped in. Thank you so much. Now back to the show. And and like, when I think of the way you rap now more specifically, I'm really consistently drawn to your voice, how it sounds, the clarity in your rhymes, that kind of flow. Like, I
Or
definitely felt like when you collabed with Evidence, I was like, that's perfect because I feel a lot of similar things as far as what I find so unique about Evidence. Like, there's just this like matter of fact, like clarity that it just resonates. Like, I find the bars just are really easily processed. But it doesn't mean because the music is basic. It's just like something I can't really fully explain. Um,
wow,
what were
that's ill. That's ill because I feel like usually it takes a listener or two to actually get what I'm saying. But as long as if there's something to take away at first, knowing that there's going to be something to take away the second, third, fourth. I still, I always use Doom as an example. I'm still catching Doom bars where I'm like, oh shit. I always thought he was saying this. He's actually saying that. I only caught that because I learned that word recently and I did more research on some like foreign affairs Russian thing that happened. And now I understand why he said Slobodan Milosevic or whatever. And then, oh shit, crazy.
yeah, like I find, and even with the more like listens that you need to have, like multiple listens type things I take away, I just find it's more effective or more clear than other rappers, and it is pretty interesting.
That's dope. Yeah,
And
that's dope too. Because to the same point, sorry to cut you off. It's usually when a rapper, when you kind of are able to take anything and almost everything away on first listen, because there's not much more to unpack or be like, what does that mean, or what did he actually say? And so the combination of clarity and depth is like, I feel like you telling me like I'm doing something serious in my own standards. So I appreciate that.
yeah, and it kind of goes back to that operating on different levels type thing. It's kind of interrelated there, I feel.
Well,
Where there's like something that you can grasp early, and then there's something more depth to it. What were like the first sounds or artists that really shaped how you thought about making music, specifically as a rapper? Like, who were those people, or what were those songs or albums?
in a literal hip hop way, Quasimodo, The Unseen,
Fire.
Special Herbs, Beat Tapes, and that Doom, Metal Fingers, and and then like Sean Price rapping, uh, Philly rappers from like '04 to '06, um, and earlier too, but me specifically getting hip to it around '05 '06, like Reed Dollars. And so like beat making and rapping were going hand in hand because I kind of started both around the same time. But then my mom listened to a lot of like Enya and Pure Moods and a lot of '70s and '80s soul and R&B and disco and shit like that. So my father listened to a lot of Greek music. I still feel like I carry a little bit of the essence of all of that in my music, at least to myself, because I want my own music or my own beats to make me feel how music made me feel as a child. And granted, that's going to be tethered to the experiences with my mother or my father or whatever I was listening to on my Discman or by myself in the basement on the stereo system, Space Jam soundtrack, but also throwing on the random Greek CDs, but also like trying to figure out how the tape part works and playing jock jams. You know what I'm saying? Jock jams was going hard. You ever listen to jock jams?
No.
That's not even, that's like, you're going to be like, what is this? It's like, I feel like it's like cheerleader music. I feel like it's literally like for like, it's like dance
Oh
mixes to
shit.
like make like,
Okay.
I don't know. It was some shit my sister had, but I always thought the cover was hard. So even when Rob Chambers and I first started, I would make album art or just like album art in general, just like stuff to post with the SoundCloud that was branded and had some type of art style behind it.
Yeah.
Because I was heavy on Photoshop before I even really made music. I was never a Photoshop pro, but I knew how to like make collages and edit pictures and swap people's faces around and do funny things for my friends, whatever. I
Yeah,
was
that's sick.
taking album art from stuff like that and repurposing it and finding the drip to even like understand to even at this point what makes a good album cover, what makes a good t-shirt, what makes a good logo, what makes a good text placement. When is it necessary to choose a typeface that isn't just the standard font families? And when is it good to actually edit the photos a certain way? And when is it good to leave it this way for these reasons? And what are you trying to communicate with this video versus the nature of that video? And all of that coming from the fact that it was beats, rhyming, uh, editing videos, Photoshop, flyers, promotion, branding, merchandise, product design, making mock-ups of things I would never make just to get the idea off, designing clothes, designing other types of merchandise.
Yeah,
It was always more than one idea behind a piece of music.
yeah, I like the fact it's really cool hearing that you put so much, not only effort, but just like thought and care into all of the different elements of the music, not just the actual songs. And you see it in the album cover for this latest record. It's beautiful,
But
and I think this
thank you.
album generally just has this like, I feel like it has this like emotionally tinged. It feels positive, I think generally, but But at the same time, it's quite introspective, and you're talking about like some difficult things at times throughout the record. And I think it's further cemented by that title, which I just think is like naturally very existential in feel. What were some of the primary points of inspiration that you felt like underpin the record and push you to explore the topics that you did? Like, what were those main things you wanted to get off your chest?
The circumstances I was meeting in my life throughout the process of this album, like the position I was in when I made the first song that wound up on the album, which is the oldest song on the album, Blood of Christ. The life I had when I made that song versus the life I had when I made the newest song in 2025, I think January, Windows. When
Okay.
I did Windows, that was the newer of the written recorded songs. Like my life was way different. That's only a year and a half, maybe. Like I'm talking unrecognizably different. And that's really just to put it simply. I'm dealing with adapting with changes that my family's dealing with, things I'm dealing with in my own personal life, things I'm dealing with in my professional life. A lot of adjustments, a lot of not so happy endings. And, I laughed, I cried. These are the years we have. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to get on to specifics. I don't want to get redundant between my interviews. And I also, like I said, I've had quite the day today that we need not open any wounds at the moment. The rust on the album cover to me looked like the meanest injury, scrape, damn near broken limb, exposed bone. And I don't know if you know, I know a lot of people don't realize it either, but that's the back of a basketball hoop. That's the support system of that
Oh,
is
I
a
can see that. I can
yeah.
see
And then in the
that.
background, that is the uh frame of my old desk where I made probably all my music between 2016 and 2021. That same
Wow.
desk that moved with me from Brooklyn to Virginia and back to Long Island over
So
that
this
course of
feels
time.
like just off that visual and what you're saying, this feels like an album that's like it's almost like you speaking from like not the wreckage because I don't want that sounds too negative, but just like
Yeah.
dealing with all of that, like all of the past and the bloodshed and the trauma, but also like I think again it's fascinating hearing you say this, but like I have to stress that I don't feel very weighed down by the record. Like it's not one where I feel like wow this is gonna make me depressed. Like this is gonna make me feel put me in a dark place. And those albums they exist and they have their value, but I feel like yours you're speaking about it but it doesn't feel from this like hopeless place. It feels actually pretty uplifting, I would say, on the
Yeah, the,
contrary.
the cup is definitely half full with this one, but we're very aware of how we feel when the cup is half empty. And, not wreckage on the cover, but these are the weathered tools in my life where even I didn't even think of it this deep when this was all from a photo. I was just really smoking in my driveway and was like, oh shit, that's kind of cool. And I started to think of like a ribbon and literally like it was all like in a split second. I'm like, that's kind of a cool idea. And then I spoke to Alex, who had done the painting for me, and he was super into it, and it definitely reflected his style. But yeah, once the hoop is knocked over, that was where I committed to music. Hoop is no longer life, ball is no longer life, hoop dreams have deflated. The desk where I made the music comes into the fray. That was probably years before I actually owned that desk, but whatever, that's unimportant. But then that's also in front of the garage where my father did a lot of handiwork, which is also next to the grill, which you see in the corner. Those are knobs of a grill. My father put in work on the grill too, and that's in the driveway. And it kind of just looked like this is what's to show of a lot of the work that my father put in his life. Needless to say, the home that I live in and all the other things he had done. But so our workstations were woven into one another in a sense, naturally, because that hoop was knocked over. I think because like it was like windy and it just fell over. And my mother kept telling me too. She's like, "Pick your hoop back up. The rim is gonna get old." I'm like, "Oh." kind of left it like that because I just kept looking at it like, nah, this is fire. And like I kept taking pictures of it from different angles. I'm like, damn, it just wound up like this. This is hard. My desk had been sitting there for like a year like that too. I'm like, this is hard. And then it became the album cover. Then when I showed my mother, she was like, oh wow. Like she's all impressed by the painting. I'm like, hey, remember you told me to pick the hoop up? She's like, oh, that's okay, I get it now.
Man, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's also my mother on Gifted Misfortune
oh, okay,
at
sick.
the end. Yeah.
I love that track. That's probably
Word
my
up.
favorite one here, I think.
Hell yeah.
And like so given this, you know, s- this emotional spiritual tenor of the record, like how did creating this impact you in those ways spiritually, mentally? Did it help you at the end of this was like a big emotional processing tool?
It's actually so strange that this is my first answer, but it was a struggle a bit to finish this album, and not in a way that it's like, oh man, it was so hard to get it done. It was more just going from having my own space to work in to losing that space to now having to find a space to now having a different type of schedule to now dealing with other people's schedules so that their availability, because now I'm willing to rely on other people, but since I'm relying on other people and trying to make this a bigger thing, I have to deal with the fact that I can't always get shit done when I need to. I got to get shit done when they can. So dealing with that and being patient around that, but then developing new mechanisms for myself where it's healthy for all parties involved, let alone myself, and we're not cutting corners and we don't feel rushed. And it's okay if the vinyl gets delayed because we planned for this, and it's okay if this happens because we planned for this, and it's all good. And you know what I'm saying? No, going from an unsure place of how I'm going to consistently make music in the beginning of the album, turning into wow, like almost laughable that I ever doubted that it would get done in a way, or at least get done in a way that can actually like, am I going to be able to work around these schedules and make the music that I feel genuine about? That was something I honestly feared because I was very big on my space, my time, whatever. It doesn't matter who's there, and it doesn't really matter the time, but it was more a matter of like, I'm gonna do it when I want to do it. I wasn't able to do it when I wanted to. I could do it only when I could. And sometimes you're having a shitty ass day and you don't want to go to the studio. You don't want to rap. You don't want to do it. I want to do it when I'm feeling the thing. And I kind of realized, man, my voice is my voice. It doesn't matter if I'm in a fucking bad mood or if I don't really want to rap. Like, grow up. You have the privilege of being perceived as an artist. Just go get it done. You got to go at 11 o'clock at night and pay 75 an hour for the studio. Go, go do it. It's all good. Because then when you get in that moment and you're writing and you're 4 bars in and all that other shit don't matter no more. And I finally achieved through music what basketball used to do to me, do for me, in the sense that like music used to feel like I was still getting acclimated to my own craft. I was still trying to
Right.
find a lot of things, let alone finding a comfort with making a lot of music and putting out a lot of music, which was kind of the challenge of Zennis Rodman too. But all that considered, I now can feel like it doesn't matter when or where. If you throw me in the studio, I'm gonna actually achieve that like freedom. And I also think that that was me knowing that if I can do that, then I can be a professional about this. Maybe it's not so easy to just turn it on, as they say, but I know that at the very least for me, if it's time to do it and I'm there, there ain't no like, not now. It's always go. And I was never really that type. I was never that type of like, throw the fucking beat on, let's go, put me on the song. I was the complete opposite
Right.
because I lock in so much for myself. Because I also knew like maybe it could have been a lack of confidence in a sense, but I knew I'm like whatever I got going on is like what I got going on, and people want to rap together and people want to use my beats, and I'm trying to make sense of it for myself. So if we're gonna do it, it's got to extra make sense, and that's more difficult than what I've even got going on with myself internally. So it was kind of a stalemate with a lot of collaborative efforts early for that reason.
Yeah, I can relate to that, not to the same extent, of course, but I've like actually just recently brought on an editor to help edit the show and do the editing. It's like they're gonna start literally the next, I think, like later this month. and I'm
Nice.
super excited about it. But man, I had those similar thoughts of like I'm needing to, and it hasn't fully started, so I'm still gonna go through it. But I did it all myself, so it was just so easy. Even though it
Word.
took long, and I'm not the best editor. I'm not the I don't have a video design anything. I'm not an audio engineer,
Right.
but I'm like, but I can do it whenever I want. If I want to fucking do some bullshit and procrastinate or just fuck around, do hang out with my friends, I can go stay up late and do this. But now I have someone else's schedule and I got to respect theirs and I got to, be a leader there and actually help people enjoy themselves and so that this is like mutually beneficial. All these things that are definitely important, but they're just man, they're scary sometimes. They're
Yeah.
scary because I now I have to depend on
Micromanaging.
someone else.
Yeah. Micromanaging things that you feel like after a certain point you deserve the trusting someone else to be able to help you with that at the very least. That's also part of like this album too was solo produced aside from one track by Rob Chambers, but it was very much of my solo releases the most involved by other people. I had my friend Kevin shoot a video for me. That was the first video I ever did with him. I had a painter do an album cover for me for the first time. I had a friend I've had since I was 17, 18 years old mix and master and record the album for me. I had my friend Trevor, who's a tattoo artist, do the banner graphic for me. I had another friend do the animation for me. So I have a nice little list of credits that I used to never have for any album because it would be like Mark Jacobs by Mark Jacobs for Mark Jacobs with Mark Jacobs and Mark Jacobs, also Mark Jacobs, produced by Mark Jacobs, directed by Mark Jacobs. Like that was my shit. And I wasn't about to write all that. I was just like, bang, Theravada, all inclusive. I'm not being mysterious. Yes, it is all me, except where I put other credits. See you later.
Yeah, it's a talent to be able to collaborate effectively, and
Yes,
it's really cool to see. Um,
absolutely. And I was definitely, I don't know, maybe I'll just say what it is, man. I was probably lacking in that department simply because I wasn't allowing it to happen as much. Whether or not I could have been better at it in the past, the fact of the matter is I didn't go through that motion enough as exposed I was to others. But a lot of that was my respect for everyone else's drip and not trying to congest other people's like shit. Cause I also was like, admittedly, in those times, I was on my like, I gotta kind of be in the mood or inspired, or you gotta give me some time because I'm not about to bang out a Fire 16 right now. I can bang some shit out, but everyone's hype and everyone's been recording mad, and I'm over here like, I don't know, not today, man. I'm not like, I don't even have an album out, bro. I'm sorry. I don't know what to
mhm.
tell you. Can I save this verse for my album? I kind of like this verse right here. My first album, man. Like everyone wants features from me. For 5 years, I had everyone telling me like, when are you gonna drop? Because I've been doing shows since 2015. When are you gonna drop? When are you gonna drop? When are you gonna drop? And then when I finally dropped, it was kind of like, when are you gonna work with me? When are you gonna work with this guy? When are you gonna do this? When are you gonna do that? And as social as I was, outside as I was, I don't know. I just felt like I had more work to put in,
Yeah,
you know.
that makes sense.
And that's for myself too. It's not even like, oh, my beats need to be better. I'm like, I think I need to be better with life and
Yeah,
everything as a whole.
yeah, and instrumentally, this record, I feel like I said, it's very soulful in the feel. There's like some really beautiful brightness and like gifted misfortunes, and then you have that like funky ass groove on Sucka MC's Part Two. How would you describe this kind of soundscape you were aiming to create on this record?
No aim. It was more, oh, this beat is hot. Don't question it. Rap on it.
Or then I
Figure it
guess
out
what do you
later.
feel it ended up being?
Oh, what it ended up being was, I mean, hey, it ended up being what I would want from a rap album production wise, which is cool because they are my beats. And it's not to say that everything needs my beats, but it's more a matter of, wow, I'm able to even make what I consider to be a pretty damn good, listenable rap album, even if you're not tapped in and you don't know what I'm saying.
What are those elements that are like this is what I want in a rap album production wise?
If it's sad, it doesn't weigh on me. And if it's happy, you're not faking the funk. There's nothing phony about the drip, nothing phony about the content. Everything is rooted in some type of reality, and even if it's a kind of not so literal thing, you still know that it's rooted in something real. And whether that real thing is also a thought or concept, it's still derived from something that you just know, like, all right, I feel that. Whoever this guy is, whatever he's saying, he meant that shit. So from a writing level, that's one thing. And then, but we're talking more about like the sonics. The sonics inform the writing, you know. So granted, that's hand in hand, but you want it to have a. It's got to be warm and flowery, but maybe the flowers might like maybe it's a Venus flytrap on the low. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, you smell the flowers, but time keeps ticking, and the flowers might look a little different. The sunflower turns with the sun, but then the ooh, Venus flytrap. Sucker MC's part two. You thought shit was sweet?
Mm-hmm.
I'm back again. But yeah, I just again, man, the word describing my beats is so hard, man. Like I'm
But it's
listening
cool hearing you say it because
to the
that
sequence,
that shit
you
it makes
know,
sense.
as long as it makes sense, as long as I'm not fucking just waxing poetic right now. That's the thing, man. It's like you'll laugh, you'll cry. The years we have.
And the thing I think the part you said at the beginning was like the if it's sad, it's what is it's not weighing you down or whatever. I don't know. Whatever you said is kind of what I was trying to say earlier about like I definitely feel the depth. I definitely feel the emotion and the difficulty and the challenges, but I don't feel weighed down at all. I feel
Yeah,
like
like
this is a
learning curve is pretty introspective and a little somber, but that's the shit that everyone's like, ooh, this is all crazy, and it's like, yeah, that's fire because that's it's kind of what you want. You want those. What's like half of reggae music that we listen to is like, I love this, but then when you listen to the words, you're like, oh my god, this is devastating. How am I eating brunch over these words right now?
that's actually so real.
You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of that effect, like beautiful music that we could just be we could really express ourselves unfiltered and people aren't gonna be like, damn, you went through a sad thing, you made this sad ass song. Like, no, you went through something and you funneled it into something beautiful, and when you put it under a scope, yeah, it is sad, but you know what? Something beautiful came out of it. And that's why music is cool. It's not supposed to be literal. It's not supposed to be genred. It's not supposed to be anything at all,
Hmm.
ever. There's no supposed with music.
That's
You
facts.
bang on something, the wind comes out air, you blow into a fucking thing made of a plant, and then that becomes another carved wooden thing. And what is anything supposed to be when you're just making sounds?
That's so
Hope
real.
it makes you it's supposed to just feel good and feel like other people are down to get with it because music was always communal. Music was always ceremonial. It's supposed to be nothing short of how it makes you feel
That's really well said. That's really
at
well
the least,
said.
you know.
Yeah. I mean I really love this album and I think like I
Thank
do
you,
think
man.
this is like your most like also just focused, concise record yet. Before we wrap
Thank you,
this, I'm
man.
just
Thank you.
curious, like what do you when you look back at creating this, what are you most proud of when it comes to this album?
That I fucking did it. That it's literally done. And it's over and I can perform the songs and I feel so good about them, and it's they don't feel challenging to perform because I wrote into my strengths as a literal like my breathing mechanisms and the literal things I have to say, and I feel better versions of my performing self arising out of this, and I've entered the next fray of my life. You know,
That's amazing.
this was literally fortunately, I was able to time it in such a way where dropping it after Earl's album actually made sense. But this was
Oh yeah.
not the plan. It was a 2 year period where I didn't really know what was going on, and I just kind of allowed myself to chip away at my album. And then Wood's bonus track produced by me and Evidence feature happened to all line up at the same time. And this is all around my birthday. So it's like, it was quite the few. Everyone's been like, oh, you've been having a crazy year. And I'm like, it's only been 2 weeks. You know what I'm saying? Like before my album dropped, everyone's like, "Yo, this is a crazy year for you," and I'm like, "Yo, it's literally only been 2 weeks. Like I didn't do anything else early in the year, at least that I can recall. That was You know, I don't know. Did I do anything? Do you remember anything I did? I really don't, man. I don't think I was doing anything. I did some shows here or there. I did a show in Philly with
Yeah, I think
Logi.
shows. I think it definitely shows that,
I
which
did some
matters. But
shows. I
yeah,
did some shows with homies. I had some people reaching out, booking me, throwing me a little bread. It was great. It was, I was doing things, but I didn't post something like, "Hey, this is it. This
it's
is
what.
January. This is
Yeah,
March. This is May." I don't think. Just for the record, I'm just curious when my last like Instagram post was. I think I put out that Bandcamp Friday beat tape in the fall before I even posted anything regarding anything. Yeah, I put out Wind, and then I announced that I had an agent like 10 months, 9 months later. And then I announced a bunch of shows, and then Live, Laugh, Love, and then the album. Yeah.
yeah, it's wild
Shout
how
out to Evidence.
serendipitous it
Shout out to
was.
Earl. Shout out to Woods. Yeah, man.
It literally when I was listening
Shout
to,
out Undefeated.
I remember I was listening to I was listening to Unlearning when I was in New York specifically. I think it was the day after we had met, and I was just I think yeah. So it was also that day where I heard that you had these beats on the Earl album, and then you had obviously said that you have an album coming in September,
Right.
and I was like, I think I was sitting in a like Domino Park. I was like, "Oh shit, man! This guy really calculated the rollout really well." Because I was like, "Oh shit!" And he's on the Evidence album. Like, man, he's been popping up in my rotation even like by accident sometimes. I'm like, this is
Yeah.
so smart. The fact that you kind of didn't really plan it, not to mention, yeah, shiny boots too. Like, that's really great how that all kind of manifested.
Yeah, man.
And so, looking now,
I'm
future wise,
speechless.
you have tell us more about like that pop-up event you got coming. So we're recording this on October 5th. This will be on the 9th, so I think it's on the 11th, correct?
Yeah. October 11th, Saturday, 2 p.m. to 7 p.m., 75 Kenmare Street, Undefeated, New York. I'll be selling vinyl for the years we have. I'll have some other pieces of merch. I'll have exclusive Undefeated 2000 merchandise, which is very exciting because not only am I doing the pop up there, but they made it a collab proper where I did a t-shirt design for them, and we got the Undefeated tag and the shirt with the logos on it, 2000 on the shirt, all that. So it's dope. That was even a vision I had years before I even thought it would ever be anything for an album or anything with my own personal association with the brand. I was chilling with Animoss years ago in his crib, and he had a bunch of Undefeated like ashtrays and home goods in general. And I remember looking at it, and he was like, "Yeah," he's like, "Yeah, one of the homies, Undefeated, whatever." And I'm like, "Yo, I fuck with." I'm like, "Yo, the 2000 Undefeated collab." Like I already kind of saw a vision for it since there was a slight bit of potential for it. And then years later, dope. I'm
Th-
like, I'm honored, man. It's really an honor to be in this position right now.
that's amazing. And speaking of Animos, I heard you guys have an album coming.
Oh yeah, we've been that that is the grand marination with that one. There's some things we both need to release before our itineraries allow us to complete that. But I think I may have rapped on more Animos beats to date than any other producer other than like for myself, other than Rob Chambers and Paul Harris.
Wow,
So just to give you an idea of how much work we've already put in.
Animos is such a G, man. That
He's
that
man,
collab
just the
makes
fact that I
perfect
could even
sense.
say I got like 15, 20 something joints in the tuck with him is crazy, bro. That's one of the goats, man. For
That's
real.
awesome.
Hell yeah.
All right, before we leave here, you're a big basketball fan. NBA season's coming up. Who's your finals prediction? What's that?
Lockdown. No finals. Shut it down. No more. Start over. I'm serious, man, because now they want, Barcelona can be in the finals now. No, man, no.
Okay, Adam Silver, whatever
Lockdown.
he's saying, I feel like I'm just
No more
ignoring it.
basketball. No more sports, actually. Shut it all down, man. What are we doing, bro? No more. No more football. Enough. It's got to stop. We got to stop. Like, we need a big break. We need a big breather as a planet. We really need to chill out. I literally like NBA shit specifically. Yeah, I'm actually unironically saying lockdown low key, but also like, yo, son, like what? Like, yeah, Bad Bunny's in the Super Bowl. I guess that's dope, but what's going on? What's going on?
Yeah, that's fair.
Like, quite seriously, I'm not trying to shift corners to, I know this is like, rap podcast, whatever, rap music plug, but we may, let's leave it on the note that, like, hi, something fucked up is happening and we should be a little aware of that right now. A little bit. Try your best,
That's
please.
absolutely real.
I'm so serious. Like, I don't think I can literally, uh, yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna just leave
The
it at that.
urgency's real. Like
Yeah.
it's
Like I'm being, there's a little humor in what I say always, but like quite seriously, man, like I literally like, I don't know, man. The things I've been reading and trying to take in stride have been so fucking busy and so overwhelmed in general that I'm like, am I lacking any bandwidth to even process any of these things? Am I freaking out? Am I too woke?
I would say I doubt it.
Shit is
Without
real,
knowing you
man. I
like
don't
that,
know.
I doubt it. There's no way you can be to anything at this point. People who say that have
Maybe.
an agenda or they're trying to get you to shut the fuck up so they can make more money. That's usually
Yeah.
how it is.
Yeah. Shit is weird right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, not too keen on any specific teams right now. Go Knicks or whatever. Whoop whoop, raise the roof. Yeah, yeah. Sixers brought their black jerseys back. That's cool, I guess. Yeah. I don't know, man. It's like the room is burning. I'm the little dog with the coffee cup. Everything is fine. I don't know, man.
Yeah. No, I feel that. I feel that.
Yeah.
But I do hope you stay safe, and I just hope you kind of soak in the fucking moment right now.
Thank you,
Years we
man.
have out now, amazing, and it's just a fucking honor to have you on. This is dope. This is a
Thank you,
great
man. It's an
conversation.
honor
Really
to do
appreciate it.
this. Glad we finally got a chance to do this. Glad it worked. Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
My man.
Word.
Salute.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Rap Music Plug podcast. If you enjoyed this episode and want to not only support the show, but join the fastest growing community of like-minded indie rap fans, go to patreon.com, search for the Rap Music Plug podcast, and become a patron. You will gain access to an exclusive patron-only Discord that me and 70 plus people engage with on the regular, as well as other patron-only benefits such as exclusive access to the iconic RMPP listening parties, album recommendations, and much more. So if you have any questions about any of the Patreon stuff, or just want to keep tabs on the show, interact with me on rap music and all the great stuff that we can talk about, follow me on Twitter and Instagram at rapmusicplugpod, or shoot me an email at qlctv.podcast@gmail.com. You can also rate and review the show on Apple Podcasts and subscribe on YouTube and Spotify as well. But that's enough self-promotion for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. Peace.